Hey everyone, Ivan Bluko here. Now, let's continue on with the Bleach What If Ichigo Was Reborn with His Memories. Now, since I don't want you to see just the black screen all day, I'll just show you one of my figures I've gotten recently this year. This is a rescue goal from Fate Grand Order. This is an amazing figure. See? Looks really good. Now, let's get on to the Bleach What If Ichigo Was Reborn with His Memories. Now, in the last part, I went through all the setup for the story, how Ichigo got in the situation, all the training he would do, and how he would be way more powerful thanks to all the knowledge he's gained because Isshin, for some reason, didn't tell him anything. Not throughout the years, he never told him one thing. So this part of the story, we start with the Substitute Shinigami arc. Now, a lot of things are going to go the exact same way. Ichigo is just a lot more powerful, and with his blunt vena and blunt artery, he'll be able to one-shot many, if not all, the hollows that he meets along his way. I'd say he'd meet all his friends around the same time or do the same things, but since he has a closer relationship with Orihime and Uryu, he'd be a lot less of a loner. Rukia would be amazed at knowing that this human who she thought would just be borrowing her powers was able to take down all these hollows, making her job a lot easier. But let me add a couple extra things that are going to happen in the story. During the vacation, Ichigo will have his fight and be able to take down Grand Fisher. This will be an amazing fight. Grand Fisher will think that this will be an easy target when Ichigo comes in with his prototype dual blades and just destroy Grand Fisher. Grand Fisher will be so shocked that a mere human was able to destroy him and think, why do you hate me so much? And Ichigo will think, I've been waiting for this moment my entire life, and now I can take you down. Avenging his mother. Now, Misaki is still alive in this timeline, so she'd probably be wondering why he had so much rage for this hollow, but Ichigo thinks, no, it was fine. This was unnecessary evil. Now, while this is going on, we would have Orihime and Chad be a lot stronger. Chad would have his power unlocked sooner, and Orihime would be able to use her rejection power sooner. Ichigo would not tell her that she doesn't need to focus on combat and teach her how she could use her power defensively to protect herself. This will help her greatly in the Soul Society arc, which is going to be a very fun time to talk about. Now, with a lot of things happening the same way, Renji and Byakuya will appear. This Ichigo is way more powerful than Renji, so when Renji attacks him, Ichigo will just use his blunt vena to just block Renji and just knock him out easily. Renji will think that it's because he's nerfed that Ichigo beat him so easily, while Byakuya will do the same exact trick, leaving Ichigo on the floor. Now Ichigo, just leaving himself on the floor knowing that this needs to happen, just allows Rukia to be taken away. Rukia wondering why Ichigo isn't going all out with at the moment. She looks into Ichigo's eyes, and Ichigo is basically giving her reassuring, trust me, and this will lead to Soul Society arc. Now, Ichigo, needing to get rid of Rukia's powers to unlock his true Zanpakuto powers, will go to Kisuke. Kisuke will do the exact same trick, but this time when Ichigo unlocks his hollow, he just tells him, get in line, I'm the king, and his hollow will get in line because his hollow is a Zanpakuto. He has no fear of his Zanpakuto or Quincy powers because they are him. As we found in the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, they aren't his spirits, they are truly just him. And that will unlock Ichigo's dual blade Zanpakutos. Now, they won't be the full powered one because he hasn't gotten his full brain powers yet, but they will be massively powerful. At lowest, 2 to 4 times stronger because, 2 blades is stronger than 1, especially for Ichigo. And then combined with his Quincy powers, Ichigo would be at least 4 times stronger than he would be in canon. But since Ichigo would be unlocking his hollow powers early, I'd say he'd also be able to unlock his hollow mask early. I wouldn't say he'd go into his Vasto Lorde Horde of Salvation power yet, but he would have his hollow mask, which would be another multiplier on top of all the other multipliers he has. This Ichigo, knowing Kisuke was a captain, would tell him, go all out with me so I can train harder, so I can be stronger for the upcoming threats. While also telling Kisuke to be working with Tessai in order to get Seal and Kido for a necessary future fight with Aizen. Now you're gonna be asking, why hasn't Aizen changed anything he's done? Because we know he's been like watching Ichigo's development and everything. And with the Gillion attack, Ichigo destroyed that Gillion when Uryu brought it over. Now, Aizen already knows Ichigo is stronger than he should be. He was actually surprised that Ichigo was weaker than he was, so Aizen wouldn't change anything that he was doing at the time because Ichigo is progressing nicely. Because if Aizen could beat Ichigo, the perfect being, then he would have no fear against the Zero Squad and destroying the Soul King because he would have been above them. That's just like something that needs to be said. Now we can finally go to the Soul Society arc. In this arc, Ichigo is way more powerful. This dude already in Shikai would probably be like above so many captain class characters already, because he was already able to fight Kenpachi at a good deal with just his Shikai using his Quincy powers. So this Ichigo would be way more powerful. The only changes I would say are that the Kukaku clan would be more friendly with Ichigo because Ichigo would reveal that he's Isshin's like son, which would make them family. So they'd be a lot more welcoming. Ichigo facing off against Janambo, I think that was his name, the border guard that kept watch of Soul Society. He would defeat him way easier. Now the same thing would happen, except that when Gin attacks, Ichigo would block the attack and protect the border guardian from getting like hurt as much as he did. Gin would see this and wonder, is this the guy that Aizen was watching? And if so, maybe I have some hope, because Gin's gonna be important later on. We're not gonna forget about him. He's gonna have a bigger role in the future, seeing that Ichigo might be the chance. Now, we're going to go through... Now, in Soul Society, Ichigo having way better control of his spiritual pressure. When they do the cannon explosion, Ichigo would instead grab Orihime and take her with him instead of Ganju. This way, Ichigo can just rush through all his battles without needing to heal up or find Hanataro. First battle with Ikkaku. Now, Ichigo would be no problem because Ichigo can just one-shot him with his, bare hands, because Blunt Artery would make Ichigo so much physically stronger. And during the months of training, when he brings up how he was training full power with Kisuke, Ikkaku would be shocked. And Ichigo, knowing that Ikkaku has a Bankai, would tell him to use your Bankai and face me. Ikkaku wouldn't want to, and Ichigo would pretty much just slam him against the wall until he would do it. Ikkaku's like, fine, I'll do it. He unleashes his Bankai, Hozuki Maru, and Ichigo lets him charge up because he wants to face him at full power. This would be an amazing fight to have. Ichigo, knowing broken Bankais can't be fixed, would make sure that he only attacked Ikkaku and not his Bankai. He would only parry or deflect attacks while not actively trying to destroy the Bankai. Ichigo is using this for training. Ichigo is going to work his way up till he can defeat Byakuya way easier than he would have in canon. He probably could already in just these powers alone, but Ichigo wants to be prepared because he has bigger threats to handle, be it Aizen and Juhabach. After an amazing clash where Ichigo just tanks every attack and parry and fights Ikkaku, landing lots of blows, he would leave Ikkaku defeated on the floor. Ikkaku would be shocked seeing that he was able to beat his Bankai. Ichigo is telling him, no worries, I'll be your captain next. Ikkaku's shocked, like, no one can beat my captain. Kenpachi Zaraki is the strongest, and Ichigo's like, he is, but I'm stronger. And goes off with Orihime to heal and take his time to rest before he goes to his next fight, Renji. Now, Renji, being a lot more hot-headed and enraged that a human was able to defeat him so easily, Ichigo would tell him, no, I'm trying to save Rukia, you should too. I'm going to defeat you, but I'll tell you where I'm going to be in a couple days when you recover. And they would have their clash. Renji cannot do one single thing to Ichigo. His Zanpakuto is unable to cut through Ichigo's body like in the original because blunt Blunt Vina. Like, it's just the strongest defensive power ever, and Ichigo is just able to clash with and defeat Renji with ease. Similar to how Renji beat Jackie from the Fullbring arc. Just one shot and slams him. Tells Renji, you want come with me in a couple days to the secret training grounds, and I'll tell you more. Now we're speed running through a lot of Soul Society because nothing really changes. It's just that Ichigo is way more powerful. At most, the captain's meeting would occur sooner, and many of the captains would be shocked that many high-class Shinigami are being taken out left and right without any trouble by these Ryoka. Though the captains would be allowed to use their powers way sooner. Now, because Uryu is a lot stronger, learning more of his Quincy heritage with Ichigo growing up, Uryu would have access to the basics of Blunt Vena and Blunt Artery, so he'd be taking a lot less damage. I feel he'd still need to use his Quincy glove release, so he would need to give up his Quincy powers, but he would be a lot stronger when he comes back. Chad would still fall to one of the strongest captains, because the ace captain is like one of the strongest characters, so I'd feel that'd be the same. Now we get into the fight with Kenpachi's Daraki. Now this would be an epic fight, like unlike no other. Ichigo would tell Kenpachi, go out all out immediately to remove his eye patch, and Kenpachi would think at first, this is gonna be somebody I really want to be friends with, and he would face off against Ichigo. Ichigo would be fighting him, would always keep his Blunt Vena on because he doesn't want to risk any like major injuries, while Orihime and Yachiru are just watching from the side. Ichigo doesn't know that Yachiru is Kenny's Zanpakuto spirit, so he would be wondering why you don't use your Zanpakuto's true power, and Kenpachi's like, we don't really get along well, and Ichigo's like, that's funny because my Zanpakuto and me are getting along just fine, unleashing more of his power, and I would say finally using Zangetsu. He would use his Getsuga Tensho to blast Kenpachi and just defeat him in the fight. Ichigo would think this would scare Kenpachi to not be so battle obsessed with him in this timeline, when in fact it does the opposite, and Kenpachi honestly loves Ichigo as a best friend now, because now they can have all these crazy wild battles together, which Ichigo just didn't figure out that plan backfired completely. Now with more healing, Ichigo would then take Yoruichi would then grab Ichigo and reveal her true form as a human woman, and Ichigo would take her device and fly all the way to the scene with Byakuya. Here he wouldn't want to face Byakuya, he would just tell him about the challenge. Byakuya would not care to hear what a human Ryoka would want and use his Shikai. Ichigo would parry his Shikai immediately, just like he would in their final battle during Soul Society. Byakuya, enraged that this human is using his power, he'd ask him, why are you even doing this? You're not part of Soul Society. And Ichigo's like, I don't care. My problem is with you and how you don't protect your little sister. I have 2 little sisters at home, and you have no right to be like protecting Soul Society while not protecting your sister. This is wrong, and I will prove it to you in a couple days. Byakuya's thinking, maybe I gotta use my Bankai against this man for how everything he knows about me. But before that, Ichigo takes off with Yoruichi, making sure that they can take their time to heal. Byakuya is going to make sure he's going to find Ichigo in a couple days and take him out. Now we get into the training arc. Ichigo finally can do his training for his Bankai. Yoruichi brings out the device Kisuke made to release the Zanpakuto spirit so that they can clash. Ichigo, already knowing this, that's why he brought Orihime. He'd have Orihime and the healing springs, to which Yoruichi would be teasing Ichigo about how sweet he is and caring of Orihime to protect her the entire time. Ichigo and Orihime would have a comedically cute romance scene where they're both blushing and trying to deny. But Ichigo knows that he failed in one timeline, and he'd want to give Orihime a better life in this timeline. With everything that happened to her, losing her brother, the Fullbring arc with the mental destruction, and even them losing. So Ichigo will vow to instead protect her in this timeline instead. Ichigo, releasing his Zanpakuto, would find Zangetsu, but he would also see Hollow Ichigo. He'd be confused about this, and Hollow Ichigo would tell him, since you already know who you are, and you already know who we are, we thought we'd give you an extra challenge. Ichigo, instead of being worried, he's actually excited. So this time, he's like, alright, let's do this. And Ichigo spends these next 3 days training up his Zanpakuto and learning his Bankai. Now, would he use his Bankai against Byakuya? No. Because this Bankai would be insanely powerful. He'd only need to use a Shikai, which would honestly prove his point even further against Byakuya when they finally get into the battle. Now, with the ritual going on, Rukia is being held up before the giant phoenix of Zanpakuto that are about to destroy her. Ichigo not only holds it back, but destroys it immediately, and all the events take place in the story besides one thing: Ichigo versus Byakuya. Byakuya goes instantly into his Shikai, Zenbon Zakura, and begins to clash against Ichigo. Ichigo, keeping his blunt Vina up at all times, deflects most of these scratches, similar to Aznode, where Byakuya needs to try harder to do any damage, while Ichigo starts speed blitzing and attacking Byakuya. Throughout the entire fight, Ichigo is yelling at Byakuya that he's supposed to be her brother, he's supposed to protect her, he's supposed to do everything he can to defend her life. Byakuya is shocked at what he would know. Ichigo's like, I know, and I know about your wife. Wife was Rukia's biological sister, which would stop Byakuya for a second and leave Ichigo to do a deep attack on Byakuya. Byakuya, knowing that there's no other chance, that he needs to stop this Ryoka before he destroys all of Soul Society, activates his Bankai, Zenbon Zakura Kageyoshi, and immediately the clash begins. Ichigo, not needing to use his Bankai, would instead just start using more powers to fight. Byakuya would be hardening his Zanpakuto, would be firing more Zenbon Zakuras, would be sending sword after sword, but this is where Ichigo would pull out a trump card. Not his Bankai, Holification. That's right, he'd use his Hollow Mask. This Hollow Mask increases Ichigo's bases, and he just destroys Byakuya's, what JJK fans would call domain, but true fans would call it reality marble, from Fate's Night. And this would leave Byakuya shocked that this human was able to do all this, and Ichigo would deliver the finishing blow, not killing Byakuya, just defeating him and dropping to the floor. Byakuya, shamed and enraged that he lost to a human without even needing him using his Bankai. Ichigo just tells him, Byakuya, I wasn't fighting against you. I was fighting against your ideals and your beliefs. If the Soul Society can't even protect their own family, then this isn't a good system. And Byakuya just sits there, thinking, alright, you win. I can't do this anymore. And now the events of Aizen taking place. Ichigo already knows Rukia is gonna be fine, so he allows Renji to just fight, run off with Rukia and do what they need to do. Aizen comes back, pulls out the Hogyoku, and this is where Ichigo faces off against Aizen. He's only going to use his base powers because he doesn't want to reveal too much about Aizen, knowing he's going to leave soon anyways. Aizen will be actually happy knowing that Ichigo is developing just fine, and Ichigo will land a blow on Aizen. Yeah, one blow. He would actually deal some damage. Aizen tries to pull that whole finger stopping the blade thing, but Ichigo would switch the blunt artery and leave some damage on his arm, leaving Aizen both shocked and interested at the same time. And this is where Soul Society arc will end. Ichigo looking up to Aizen, vowing that he's going to defeat him soon enough. Aizen thinking he found the perfect specimen to face off before his evolution. And Gin in the back of his mind thinking, maybe I have some hope. Maybe this is my chance to take revenge upon Aizen. And this is where we end the Soul Society arc. Ichigo was able to successfully defeat all his enemies, while also proving his point to Byakuya. Since Orihime was around much sooner, Byakuya was able to get healing much sooner as well. Lots of things don't change here because Ichigo wasn't involved with a lot of Soul Society's background doings. He didn't know what happened with Momo, nothing with Toshiro. That's why nothing really changes. The next part with the Arrancar arc, this is where a lot of things are going to change. And it's going to be a very fun time. Now that was part 1 of What If Ichigo Was Reborn with His Memories. Thank you very much.